Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 363. We are recording this and broadcasting live on Sunday, March 21st, 2021. I'm David Lotz. Joining me as always is Bobby Jackson.
Hey guys, the time is finally upon us.
It is. And Michelle Hillard is also here.
Hello everyone. Hi.
How's it going, guys? Yes. How long have we been talking about the Snyder Cut?
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
Did you think this day would ever come, Bobby?
I'm glad I didn't think that it would, no, honestly, because I never thought that WB would give Zack Snyder the money to be able to finish his version of the movie. So I honestly never thought it would come. Once we were told that it was coming, and it was coming to HBO Max, then it was like, okay. But I think that if we had never had an HBO Max, maybe the day wouldn't have come because they wouldn't have wanted to put this in theaters. So
Right.
It worked out, I guess.
It did work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. HBO Max definitely, I think, I agree, it worked out in favor of this ever happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting out in theaters, I don't know. But yeah, maybe we'll get to, or not maybe, we absolutely will get to more about Justice League in a little bit. But it wasn't just Justice League that came out this weekend in the world of comic book, superhero media. We also got the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier this weekend over on Disney Plus. So we figure we're going to start by talking about that probably for, I don't know, for a little while. And then basically the rest of the show is going to be dedicated to talking about Justice League. So that is basically the agenda for the episode. I think that'll be plenty to discuss for probably well over an hour. Who knows? We'll see how long we go. But yeah, with that, why don't we jump into The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Came out first episode. They only dropped one episode. I mean, they did only drop one episode, right? And hopefully I didn't miss it. Episode 2.
Oh,
Yep, just one.
Okay, just one. Yeah, what did everybody think of it? Michelle, why don't you start us off? What did you think of?
Me.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I know we're not doing any spoilers or anything, so I'm not going to talk like that, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. I'll say nothing like really stood out to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, oh, this is exciting. Oh, this is great. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Ooh, like I was just kind of like, okay, cool, because I think most of the episode is just a reestablishment of kind of where the two main characters are at this moment in time. You know, it's after dealing with Thanos, and I guess everybody's just still kind of dealing with the aftermath from the blip or the snap, whichever you prefer to call it. So I think it's just kind of, especially for, I can't think of his name, Falcon.
Sam?
Yeah, Falcon.
Sam, yeah. So, thanks.
Sorry, I had the same. As soon as you asked, I was like, oh, I don't know, actually. I should.
I'm like, I was thinking Sam, and I was like, I don't want to say it and sound like an idiot. No, like, especially for Sam, because, well, I mean, Bucky got caught up in the snap too. But I think especially for Sam to get caught up on it and then come back, and then obviously there was the big battle, but then it's like, okay, so now where do I pick up from? I've been given the mantle from Captain America, and it feels weird and awkward, and I don't really know what to do with it, and it doesn't feel like it's actually me. And then he's got his family life. It just seems like he's very lost right now in what to do with himself. And then there's Bucky. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, not to quite the extent where he kind of feels like he's lost 5 years. I think for him, because he really has had no attachments other than Cap, you know, for him, it was just kind of this weird thing that occurred. And it really was a blip for him. But in picking up, you know, he's trying to come to terms with the things that he did in the past prior to the blip. And things that, you know, everybody made him do with his brainwashing, basically. So, yeah, I think both of the main characters are just kind of catching up with them and realizing that both of them are just, they're lost. They are you know, they have no path in front of them, or at least a clear path in front of them of what to do next with their lives and how to move forward. So, like, I don't know. It was a good like reestablishment episode, but it didn't like
It
I wasn't blown away by anything.
Right. You weren't like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing right off the bat. Like,
yeah. I'll say like the effects were really good. Like it's definitely, yeah, watching it, you know, you're getting film quality digital film. Like it was awesome. Like it looks beautiful. Like it's very clear. It's like watching a movie. It's not like watching just a TV show. It doesn't have that TV show
right.
kind of glossy look. I don't know. It was really nice. So no, I mean, like I like it, and I'm looking forward to more episodes. But I wasn't walking away going, "Wow, awesome! Holy cow!" But it's the first episode. It's an establishment episode,
right?
So that's where I'm at.
Gotcha.
Yay!
Bobby, what did you think of the first episode?
I like Michelle's yay at the end of her explanation. Yay!
Falcon Winter Soldier! Yay!
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I think it did its job in terms of setting the table for what the series should be, and getting to establish where the characters are now. It's 6 months after the blip, and so it's showing you these characters trying to readjust to life after having been gone. And I think that they did a really good job of showing the two characters exactly where they are in life and the real world issues that they have to deal with. I think what this series establishes, maybe even a little bit more so than WandaVision, is that what do superheroes do when there's nothing to save? Like when there's no big world battles or anything going on, what are they doing in the meantime? At least with these two characters, you start to get a sense of what that is. And I appreciated that we're seeing things that we can't get a chance to see in movies because the movies have a different agenda. There's more that's going on there. There's big world stakes. And so you don't get the quieter moments like this show can give you. Along with that, they also do give you the big action scenes. And like Michelle said, that they spare no expense. I mean, when you see the first opening sequence in the movie, it's something out of, Top Gun / Independence Day. I mean, there's just so much going on and so many different things that keep you going. That Marvel action you can rely on, that it'll give you that thing that you kind of expect from them. So I think it just did a really good job of balancing the two. You get that up front, and then it quiets down so that you understand where these characters are now and being able to get a sense of at least where some of the things that they're going to be dealing with within the series. And I think that for the first episode, it establishes that really well out the gate, and it made me anxious to see the second episode as soon as the first episode ended. So if that's any indication, I think that I left it feeling like, man, okay, I'm ready for episode 2. So I'm already on board in terms of my excitement level to be able to see what's going to unfold over these next few, I guess, 5 more episodes, and see who else pops up in it, because there were some surprises within this episode. So yeah, I'm all into it, and was very happy with the fact that coming out of WandaVision and coming into this, I didn't feel like a drop off in any sort of way. I felt like, okay, we're getting back into it. We're getting to establish things now, and it's going to obviously ramp up. So yeah, I'm all good in it, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I really enjoyed the episode as well. You're right. It's not like, other than the first scene, which really kind of jumps into action pretty quickly, and it is like a major like film quality action scene, like you said, Bobby, something you see like maybe in a Mission Impossible or something like that. From there on out, I enjoyed that it was kind of a slower pace, kind of establishing where these guys are right now. I also enjoyed that, even though we're getting like the quality like we got in WandaVision, it's a very different kind of show, which is nice. Nothing against WandaVision. I'm not comparing it to WandaVision, but it's nice to then kind of move into a different Marvel show that has a completely different kind of feel than, you know, than what we just got with WandaVision. So that's nice too. And I don't know. I mean, beyond that, there's not much to say about it. I enjoyed it. I think I'm going to enjoy where this show's going to go. I kind of thought I was going to enjoy it all along. I mean, I've liked just about all of the Captain America films, and this seems like it's going to have a similar kind of feel. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I guess I've got nothing beyond that. It's good. It's just one episode.
Yeah, without spoiling it, we
Yeah.
can't really say too much. So, like you said, it's just the first episode, so not too much to get into as far as that. It's pretty. It's not doing anything to make you question a lot of stuff yet. There's some
Right.
questions on the table, but nothing like in terms of WandaVision where you're kind of wondering about all of it. This more is like, okay, here's what we're presenting to you, and here's what you can kind of see. So you kind of take it at face value, at least at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Sounds like we all liked it, and we're all looking forward to the next few episodes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so. Sounds what it
Well,
sounds like to me.
And I will say that because I do like this and I like WandaVision, it just, I think, is further implanting an idea that these Marvel shows are going to give me something different each time, and also be a quality level that's going to be exciting for me to be able to watch these as they come out. Because these first two, if this is any indication, I think that it's going to be a good thing to have all these different Marvel shows on Disney Plus.
You saying that, I mean, we've talked about some of the other shows already. We got Loki coming up. What has a June release date, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe
I
so.
think. Do we know what's after that in terms of a show?
They haven't given a date, but I imagine What If is next after that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think that was next on the slate for
Yeah.
shows. But yeah, I don't think there's a date yet.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
That does sound right.
Yeah, that does sound right. I mean, yeah, unless you guys have anything else you want to throw in on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I guess we can kind of jump right into the main
we're good.
event. the main event.
There we go.
The epicness.
Yes, the epicness that is
Extravaganza.
Zack Snyder's Justice League is now on HBO Max. Just to kind of recap kind of quickly, if anyone's watching this, you haven't watched it, or you have and you're wondering, I watched it, but why does this exist? Like, what's going on? And I bring this up because I spoke to my parents who watched this. I was kind of surprised that they watched the whole thing, but they did watch all of it. But my dad hadn't seen the original theatrical release. I don't even know if he realized there was one, because I kind of had to explain the whole situation after he had seen it, like why this exists, what's going on here. And I mean, you know, you could talk about it for a while, but just to recap quickly for anyone who's wondering, you know, if you've seen this and you're not really kind of sure of the whole story. I mean, yeah, we had a Justice League film that, you know, if you watched it, was credited to Zack Snyder as the director. But unfortunately, due to a terrible family, event, he was not able to finish the film. And Joss Whedon was brought in to finish the film. He did not just take everything that Zack Snyder had shot and just like finish it. He did kind of shoot a lot of his own stuff. He did do some rewrites, I guess, and kind of tweak the film quite a bit. So that Justice League film that was released in theaters, yes, it was credited as a Zack Snyder film, but Joss Whedon had a huge involvement and hand in the making of that movie. There was a then subsequent, movement, hashtag release the Snyder cut, that just kept growing and growing. I know Jason Momoa fed into it at one point. And then
everybody did.
Well, I think he was really first. That's why I bring him up first. But then, yeah, Zack Snyder, Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck all got involved. And, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Bobby, it finally happened. And I think a lot of it had to do with the availability of HBO Max. You know, I don't know that this would have ever have seen a movie theater even without a pandemic. But yep, HBO Max seemed like a perfect place to make it happen. Warner Brothers gave Zack Snyder the money and ability to finish this film, since he had shot pretty much everything that we see in this, even though a lot of the stuff we see in this version of the movie is very different from the one we saw in theaters. But he did, he additionally shoot, I think, just one scene, and was able to finish the film. So here we are. We have the Snyder Cut of Justice League in all of its 4-hour glory over on HBO Max. We have all seen it. I don't know who. I don't know if we should have used the bowl to go.
No, I will say for this put this point on spoilers.
Yeah.
In case anybody.
We're gonna talk about spoilers for the movie.
Just warnings, spoilers ahead. We're officially in spoilers now.
Sure.
In case you haven't seen it, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, Michelle.
Yeah.
You started off.
again?
Yeah, you first. Why not?
Is it because I've missed a few episodes?
Yeah,
is this
yeah.
what this
I
is?
wanna
This
hear
is because
from
I've
you.
not been here?
Let's do this.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where there's I almost don't even know. I'll be honest. So I've spent most of today kind of sitting with like, what am I gonna say today?
Oh, before you start, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I mean, well, to recap, what did you think of the theatrical release?
The one that was what, 2 years ago now?
3
years ago? God.
4? I don't know.
When did it come out? 2017, 2018? I don't even know. Let's get our facts straight here.
2017,
I thought it was 2017.
We're
yeah.
professionals here. I think, I guess at the time it came out, I wouldn't want to say like there was a mixed bag of reviews. I think it was pretty negatively reviewed and received by pretty much everybody. I liked it for face value, but as a whole, I don't think it was that spectacular. I was not a fan of the CGI. I felt like the storyline was not as strong as I think the storyline could have been. And I guess I don't want to say like we're insiders, but like we knew what occurred when that film came out. Like we knew that Joss Whedon had a very horrible family tragedy.
Zack Snyder did, yeah.
Zack Snyder had a family tragedy, and that Joss Whedon picked up the mantle, and we knew that basically Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder have two completely different stylizations, and so we knew this was going to be an interesting thing. And yeah, it really kind of was weird. Their character development wasn't quite there. Storyline wasn't quite there. Story felt very short, very flat. But I think like my big takeaway when I first saw it, I remember just kind of being excited to see at that time so much more of the Amazons and to see Themyscira and to get enveloped more into that world again. And then also it was just cool to see the Flash and Cyborg. And I was just kind of caught up in the excitement of getting to see these other characters, It was like, wow, we really get to see this. This is really happening. But overall, it was kind of like, it's okay.
It was okay too.
It was okay.
You didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. I know there are people that hate it.
Right.
I didn't hate it. I think there was a lot of issues.
Right.
A lot of issues.
Okay. Well, with that, then what was did you have a big desire to see this cut, or was your desire to watch it more just, well, I got to see it and see what happened? Or were you like, I really want to see Zack Snyder's version? Like,
I think
if that question makes sense.
when hashtag release the Snyder cut came out, I was kind of like, I'll be honest, I'm curious to see what Zack would have done with it. And as time has gone on, my desire to see it has done nothing but grow. I've been very curious. Like by the time this has been like, this is a thing, this is happening, we're gonna see it, I'm like, I gotta see this. But then it's like you hear that it's a 4-hour epic. And then there was the point of time when they're like, we're gonna break it up. And I was like, are you kidding me? And they're like, we're not gonna break it up. And I'm like, okay, let's just decide on something. It was the constant movement of this film was exhausting, and that was actually making me lose interest. So it was just kind of like, just either do it or don't. Like, come on, guys. But anyways, I've been looking forward to the Snyder Cut. I'll be honest. Like,
All right. What'd you think?
Yeah. it's funny because, most of the time with life, you're like, oh, I loved it, or oh, I hated it, or oh, it was okay. And this is another, this isn't a simple answer, I don't think, for this. But overall, I will say, overall, I liked it. I think it fulfilled a lot of the story that was missing from the theatrical. It had the heart that was missing from the theatrical. Had character development. Well, we'll get into that, and there's positives and negatives to that. It had the character development for everyone that the theatrical I felt was lacking severely. And it had better CGI. It had a better villain. It had a better reason for why things were happening. Everything just made more sense in this saga of the Justice League. I won't get too in depth, but yeah, I would say overall, I'm actually pretty happy with the Snyder cut, and I don't think it definitely couldn't have been in the theaters. There's just no way. It's just too much. But the way it was done with HBO Max and the way we saw this, I think it actually worked out really well in our favor in a weird way. But yeah, I'll get into more stuff when we talk about things. But there's definitely some I thought this was excellent. This was really good. This was good. This not so much. This not so much. But I want to kind of see what you guys think, and we can kind of discuss. So overall, I liked it.
So yeah, I know I drove you nuts because
that was just
as soon as we finished this 4-hour epic, you immediately turned to me and were like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "I don't want to say yet."
But it's 4 hours. We had to take a bathroom break halfway through, for God's sakes.
I know, doing this podcast for as long as we have, we kind of originally and kind of always have had a tradition of, we'll go to a movie theater, see a movie, and not talk about it right after the movie. Now,
you're correct.
I feel like lately more and more we have just kind of already just discussed at least a little bit of our thoughts on things as we've seen them in movie theaters or watching stuff on TV, what have you.
A general thought or feeling.
But yeah, we finished this, and I don't know, just considering how big this is, and not just how big in terms of how long the movie is, but how big this is, how long we've been talking about this existing or not, and it's finally here, and knowing that we're going to probably talk about this for a while today on the show, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to hold my thoughts. So I know that, sorry, that drove you insane.
Yeah. And so now you're going to ask Bobby what he thinks.
No, I'll go ahead and share my thoughts. Unless Bobby wants to go first, it's up to him.
No,
Bobby's just smiling at us. He just smiles. He's just this is great.
But yeah, to recap quickly, I guess my thoughts on the original Joss Whedon version of Justice League are pretty similar. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, Bobby, that our opinion on this is actually pretty similar as well.
I think it was, yeah.
I didn't hate it. It's definitely got major issues, and there's a lot of things I really don't like about that movie. But in the end, there were just a lot of moments in that film that I just really enjoyed seeing these guys together as the Justice League on screen, and I found myself enjoying at least certain parts of the movie. And yeah, it was definitely. It seemed pretty obvious the touches that Joss Whedon had on that film. Back when we originally saw it, I think we were kind of unsure what percentage of what we were seeing on screen was stuff that Zack had shot versus what Joss had shot. Yeah. And now, kind of learning more, it sounds like it was quite a bit that
it was a lot
Joss Whedon had shot. And even though a lot of that stuff was obvious, there was even some of the more humorous elements to the movie that I was kind of okay with. And when it comes to this film, I have definitely been curious to see it. Zack Snyder, not only the original Justice League and, some of his other films like Batman vs. Superman get a lot of hate. And some of it can be, I guess, a little warranted. But overall, I've been a big Zack Snyder fan. I like his films mostly quite a bit. Yeah. And when it comes to this film, I really enjoyed it. But it's also one of those situations that I enjoyed it given the situation and for what it is. It would be different. Yeah, would it be different if I had seen this whole thing in a movie theater and this was the original version I saw, which I don't, I don't think we ever would have seen this 4-hour cut in a movie theater. But let's just say we had. Let's just say that indeed this was the Zack Snyder version that was meant to happen all along, and this is what Warner Brothers let him release in movie theaters. Like, I don't know what my opinion would have been if that had taken place. Like, it's hard to say. It's hard to put myself in that kind of mindset of like, okay, I saw BVS and then I saw this, and I don't know, but with the situation we have, having not really cared for the original version and watching this, I overall did enjoy it. And yeah, it was a long night of, a long sitting. We did watch it in one sitting. I know a lot of people are breaking it up, maybe over a couple nights or something like that. And yeah, even though we paused it a couple times to either take a bathroom break or grab a snack, we did watch it in one sitting. And in a way, that was kind of fun too. Yeah. I was like, this is our evening. We are doing this, and it was fun. And overall, I did like it. But this whole thing, this version of the movie and the Joss Whedon version of the movie, I think in different respects are like, their problems are just kind of evidence of, I think, the bad planning. And Yasha would jump all over this in agreement, I think. Yeah. The bad planning on Warner Brothers and DC's part in the way that they approach their universe. I think, the decision to go, hey, we're going to make a Superman movie, and then we're going to jump into a movie with two heroes, Batman versus Superman, and then we're going to go basically right into Justice League. And to do it that way without kind of covering most of the other heroes. I guess we got Wonder Woman before Justice League too, but
and that seemed kind of randomly thrown in there, quite honestly. As much as I love Wonder Woman,
but to attempt to do this without any appearance really yet of Aquaman and Flash and Cyborg, I think Zack Snyder, his original plan was it had to be too big, to try to do this movie, to go ahead and jump in. I think this 4-hour epic is evidence of well, how would you do that? I guess this is how you would do it. And then when Joss had to take over and kind of make his version of what Zack was already planning, it's kind of understandable, I think, in some ways, what Joss Whedon tried to do. I mean, they couldn't release a 4-hour film. I don't think they were ever really planning on doing that. And, to try to cut that down to the amount he did, and it didn't work out. And then to see this version, it's like, this is cool, and HBO Max is kind of the perfect home for this. But yeah, you would never see this in a movie theater. Not to say we've never seen a 4-hour movie in a movie theater. I know we have, but I don't know. But yeah, there's problems with both movies, and I think it's mostly the problem with just the kind of approach that they have taken with this universe. And I'm glad we got to see this. Overall, I did enjoy it. I still really love Ezra Miller's Flash. He is kind of a standout for me. And in that first version of Justice League and then this version, we get two very different cyborgs. Yeah. And I remember saying that I really liked Cyborg in that first film, and I did. And I really like this character in this film, as different as he is. I think it's a real bummer of all the things that we are not going to see Ray Fisher play this role, that we're not going to see any more of that. I really enjoyed Cyborg in both movies, and I think it's a bummer that, now the drama that has happened surrounding him and the Joss Whedon production, and it's really unfortunate that he has kind of parted ways with this character and doesn't really plan on, I think, working probably with Warner Brothers ever again. Yeah, I think that's a bummer. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm going down the road of starting to dig into a lot of stuff, and I know we're going to talk about this for a bit, so I'll just kind of hold on to a lot of that. It sounded like you wanted to say something quickly before I turn to Bobby.
Yeah, I really am excited to hear what Bobby said, but no, I hard agree on basically Warner Brothers not knowing what the hell to do with this universe. And that's something that all four of us, I think, have said since the dawn of time of this situation. Yasha obviously would hard agree with us on this as well. And I feel like if Warner Brothers had a better handle on this, what we would have gotten is somewhere in the mixture of this 4 hour epic and the Joss Whedon thing would have been somewhere in the middle and would have been stronger and better. But
Right.
Warner Brothers, having no direction on these characters, screwed over Zack Snyder's visions, and he had to shove a lot into 4 hour. We took something that should be exposed into like 4 different films. He had to shove into one film, which wound up being 4 hours. But then his situation occurred, and Joss stepped in, and Joss went, "Well, wait, what do you want us to do with this? I'm sorry, what?" Like it was a hot mess, and that hot mess goes back on Warner Brothers, in my opinion.
Right.
Anyways, but I am excited to hear what Bobby thought. I've got a drink. I'm ready to sit back and just listen. Oh my god.
All right, Bobby. Your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Well, what were your thoughts on?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess to recap too, like we
Yeah.
both have, what did you think of the first one, and now what do you think of this one?
Yeah, for me, the first one, I really enjoy it a lot, actually. I recognize that it has problems, like you said, David. There's definitely some issues with it, but the the ability to see all of these heroes on screen at once, and it's the Justice League of all things. Seeing that was something for me that was revelatory. I mean, it's something I'd been wanting to see since I was a kid. So, it just felt good seeing that. And I think another thing about that is that with those characters, it's an interesting thing because um, you have to. There's some context, I guess, that should be added to some of what we've said, in that the Justice League was really kind of coming off the heels of Batman v Superman, and because that movie did not perform in the way that anyone would think that it should. I mean, it's Batman and it's Superman. You think this movie should easily make $1 billion, easily, and it doesn't. And then you're kind of like Warner Brother is at that time, which is again sort of some context to this whole thing. They weren't happy, and they felt like Zack Snyder had already had Man of Steel, which underperformed. Then they had Batman v Superman, which underperformed. And so now you come to Justice League, and they're already feeling a certain type of way about the Zack Snyder's vision. So I think in one sense they were looking for a way to pull him from the movie. And unfortunately, there was a tragedy within Zack Snyder's family that forced that. And so, as you guys have sort of said, Joss Whedon was brought in because this is the guy who made the Avengers work and made that a $1 billion movie franchise after that. So it seemed like an easy thing to be able to pick that as a person to come in and fix what was there, because they didn't want to go down that road of what Zach was doing, because in 2 iterations of this universe that he had created, it wasn't working. So they wanted something Avengers like, something more light than what was being done with what Zack Snyder did. And aside from that, like Michelle mentioned, Joss comes in and he's like, "Oh, well, what do you guys want me to do with this?" And so they already know what they want to do, and they give him his marching orders. And at some point, Joss Whedon comes to them and says, I can do this a little bit better, but I need more time. Can you guys release date? And Warner Brothers, at the time, I forget who it was, the head of Warner Brothers, I forget his name, but he said no because the date that they had set, which was towards the end of the year, was tied into Warner Brother executive bonuses. And so they needed the movie to come out that year in order for for them to get those bonuses. And so working under the limiters of trying to complete this movie. And I say all that to say that even when finished product, I still found myself enjoying it. And it feels like a movie that is um, not necessarily like Avengers, but it feels like I've heard it, and it kind of is in that it's sort of like a Saturday morning cartoon, and it kind of has that feel. It's very much more popcorny. It's not necessarily has any meat to it necessarily, and I enjoyed it for that aspect because it was fine. Um, the thing that I felt like with when Zack Snyder was going to do his version for a while, I was just kind of like not on board because not because of him, but because of the people who wanted to see it. They made me not want to see it because they were so forceful about it and pushing this narrative that there was this finished version out there that Warner Brothers should just release. And it was this sense of entitlement that just kind of put a negative aura around the whole thing for me. And eventually, I think after a while, and it started to seem like there was a possibility there when he said that it was going to come out and it was going to be on HBO Max. That's when I started to get excited for it because then it felt more like something real and tangible. But I was excited for it not just because you get to see his version and his vision realized, but also because it would be something that the fans who had been wanting this thing could finally be quiet about it. Because honestly, up until they announced that it was going to come out, that never died down. Like it may have waned some, but it was still there. Like people, you would think everybody would shut up about it, but no. And to a certain degree, I think Zach fueled that because he would constantly keep releasing pictures of what he was going to do. And so then it just made people start to get up about it again. And it was just like, oh, this is exhausting. I don't want to think about this or talk about it because it's not real. So now having get to the point where it's coming out, and at first it was going to be this thing where they were saying release weekly, and then they decided, well, we're just going to do it all at one time. My excitement level was there because I enjoyed the Joss Whedon version of it. That was to me like, no, getting more of that. Then how could I not be excited about that? And that's to me what it is. It's like now after seeing Snyder's version, you can see the skeleton of what that is in Joss's version, but it's more gutted. It's gutted of some of the character moments, the emotional beats, some of more of the tone, and so getting to see this, as you both have said, the word, and it fits this completely, is that it's an epic movie. It really is in every sense. It's a huge sprawling thing, as if it was like the Lord of the Rings and you put all the movies together in this one like 6 hour, probably longer than that if you combine all these movies. But it was like that. It's a sprawling epic movie. And I think that I was looking forward to being able to see all of these other things that Zach said that he did that weren't in the version that we got in the theater. And it's all there. And I appreciate a lot of it because it's so much there that gives more context to things and explains why certain things are happening. And it doesn't make me like Joss's version less, but it makes me sad that it was a version that was put together sort of by committee more so than it being I don't even want to call it Joss Whedon's version, because I don't think that that would be Joss Whedon's version. If he had been put on Justice League first before Zack Snyder, I think we'd have a completely different movie than what we got. But he was brought in to finish somebody else what somebody else started. So it's hard. So I'll just call it the version. And so I think when I look back at that, I still enjoy it, but I think this gives me more. And the best way I can sum it up is I really enjoyed it a lot. And it's this big movie I'll never watch again, which
Wow.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it's too much in a way that I can't imagine sitting down for another 4 hours and watching this. We can break it up. I don't watch movies that way. I don't break things up. I watch them in one sitting, and I'll never sit down and watch this again in one sitting. Um, there is one thing that I feel like I would do if I were to revisit this, and that would be to watch it from part six. That would be the what I would throw on every time if I was to watch this. And it does make me interested if Warner Brothers gave Zach a chance to trim it, that would be the version I would watch, because um, I like what he did in this, because this fully feels like a Zack Snyder version. The tone is all there. It carries over from the tone that we had from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman to this. That tone is connective. It all feels like it's part of one thing, whereas Justice League theatrical version doesn't. It does stand out from those two things. And so I would like to see if they did a shorter version somewhere that clocks in 250, 3 hours maybe. And that, I think, it would almost to me feel like how you have the theatrical version of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you have the extended versions. And maybe if you have the time, you watch the extended versions. If not, you can just still watch the theatrical versions and still enjoy it. And if there was a shorter version of this, after having seen this longer version, my mind would just fill in the blanks of what the longer version was anyway. So it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be feeling like I was cutting something out in the same way that if I were to now try and watch it from the theatrical version of this movie, because there's things that are changed. My mind wouldn't want to fill in the blanks in that way, because it's a different way of telling that story. Whereas if Zach got another swing to just kind of condense it just as a shorter version, my mind would fill in those blanks from having seen the longer version. So ultimately, I think that I'm really happy that Warner Brothers gave Zach the chance to complete his vision and give him a chance to tell that story that he didn't. Because I imagine that must be like something where you start something and don't get to finish it. If you have any kind of ambition inside you, you don't like that having some unfinished business. And the fact that he got to finish that business, I really am glad for him on that level and appreciate it. And I'm glad that I enjoyed the movie as much as I did, because uh, although it does still have certain issues and problems, where when I compare the two, there's certain things out of the Justice League that was in the theaters that I think work better than what's in the Zack Snyder version, and vice versa. So there's some things that I would completely pull from the theatrical version and put in this, and also, the other way around. So I think that getting to see this, it was like a nice sort of exercise in being able to see how different people's versions and visions can be, and then being able to have a complete version of this to be able to then sit down and say, okay, this is what this would have been. And where we go from there is hard to say unless you're just going off of what Warner Brothers says. But I imagine this will only empower some of those same people who pushed to have this in the first place to want to see Zack Snyder finish out what he was doing. And I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later. If you know anything about it, or if you don't, then I can fill you in. But it's interesting just to see where we'll go from here because of how this is being received. And so ultimately, I'm happy that it got made, and I'm happy that I got a chance to see it, and I'm happy that I actually enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I think there's no, not to mince words, I think it's like when I look at this film, I think the negative is the length of time. And yet, the positive is that with this length of time, you get so much more storylines from everyone fleshed out. So it's this like double-edged sword. Like there's a part of me that wishes that this was only like 2 hours and 45 minutes long at most. Like that's perfect. It's a great, gives you what you need, and you can rewatch it, down the road when you want. This 4-hour version is like, I don't know if I want to rewatch this in one sitting. Like I'll probably rewatch it just in different phases. Like I'll probably break it up into like 3 parts, knowing myself. But like most people aren't going to rewatch a 4-hour thing. But at the same time, like the great thing about the 4-hour thing is that you get so much. Like it's this like, it's like when I sit here and I think about it, I'm like, well, he could trim this and he could trim that. But I'm like, but I actually kind of liked that. And I kind of liked that too. Like I liked getting to see more of the Flash fleshed out. Like part of me is like, well, did we really need the scene with him in the pet store and the car and the accident? No, but I liked that scene. So it's like, what do you do? And I feel like that's how a lot of the movie plays out for me, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I for one, I'd said from the beginning, I never had an issue with the idea of releasing this in parts when that was announced. I mean, hearing like it was either that or a 4 to 5 hour film, I was like, come on, guys, 4 to 5 hours, that's a long one. Like, I'm not against the idea of releasing it parts. And, if anything, if I did rewatch it, it would probably be in that kind of way. I agree with you, Bobby. I'm not one to watch movies in segments. And this is weird because it's like it is a movie. We got a movie release and it's a 4-hour movie, but in a way he even still cut it together in parts. It feels like it's both.
Yeah.
Like it's a movie, but really it is just kind of a mini series. And I don't know about you guys, as I watched it and each part would end, I kind of thought, I'm like, what would it feel like if, okay, this stopped and I didn't get to watch the next part for a week? And actually, for the most part, I think it worked with the exception of the very first part, if I remember correctly. I remember thinking when the first part ended and it went, we were getting the title for part 2. I remember thinking, oh man, if that's all I had seen in 1 week, I'd have been kind of annoyed.
I would have rioted.
It's not a very good, it didn't end well. Like I felt like as one episode.
Yeah. I agree.
Now, if I remember correctly, and I mean, I say that and I know I just watched it, but it was long. But if I remember correctly, I felt like all the other parts actually worked pretty well to kind of stand on their own for the most part. I mean, with that said, am I glad I got to sit down and watch it in 4 hours? I mean, as I said a little while ago, I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed sitting down and watching it for 4 hours. But yeah, maybe if I were to watch it again, it would just be, I'll watch this part and watch this part. Or if I put it on, it would be kind of I'm just putting it on, but I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, yes, Bobby, I completely agree. Am I going to sit down and dedicate 4 hours of my life, over 4 hours, to sit down and just watch this, dedicate my time, 4 hours of time to watch this? No, that's not going to happen. And I know that there is a black and white version of this that's going to be released, which, oh my God. I mean, I could see putting that on maybe and watching a little bit of it just out of curiosity. But I mean, will I watch a 4 hour black and white version of this film unless it is supposed to be a shorter version. I don't think so. No, I kind of doubt it unless I start it and I'm like, man, this really works. Like, I guess
really
you
pulls
never
it
know.
together,
Like,
yeah.
maybe I will. I kind of doubt I'll react that way to it, but I guess
Hey,
anything's possible.
The black and white version could be the rug that pulls the whole room together. You never know.
You never know.
No, I think, in my opinion, I feel like the film, if you were to cut up a little bits here and there, here and there, here and there, you know, like part 1 and part 2 could be a good part 1. You know, 3 and 4 could have been a great part 3. And then 4 and 5 would have been a great part 3, and then had the epilogue, and then basically had it in 4 parts. That's how I feel the film would be best served. I feel like he almost broke it up a little too much. If that makes any sense?
Maybe.
But anyways, I don't want to keep talking about the length of the film because there's a lot of good things that I am excited about in this film.
Like?
There's a lot actually. There's quite a lot, and I won't go too in depth. But I'll be honest, the opening sequence alone, that was freaking awesome. Like, and I don't want to just be comparing this film to the theatrical one, but this is the one thing I will definitely compare the two films. When I look at the opening sequence for the theatrical and the opening sequence for this, there is just zero competition. The opening sequence in this, I think, felt just a million times better. Like, it just did. Like, it was something that was so nice to have it basically pick up exactly from where Batman versus Superman basically left off, to actually just feel the more depth of the moment of the loss of Superman. I feel like it really resonated and it really pulls so much more together, and I feel like it just jumps the movie off on a much better foot than compared to where the theatrical version was. It just does for me, in my opinion. I felt like that was my big takeaway almost immediately. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is
No, I mean, we don't
way
normally.
better.
I definitely don't normally talk in the middle of things like that I'm watching, and I think
I try not to.
I think for the most part now, like, you don't much either. But then in this case, you actually did turn to me and were like, you seem very excited by the opening. And I'm not saying I disliked it. I agree. I mean, if there are things about the Joss Whedon WB version, if you want to call it that we got, the theatrical version, that was maybe better than this. One thing that definitely was not for me was like that. There was a particular moment I remember in the opening, and I just outright hated. Like, it was that scene where Batman is on the roof and kills the whatchamacallit, or it kills himself. And there's the pattern. He's talking to, the parody man. He's talking to Alfred, and Alfred like does this whole thing where he brings up on the screens, well, I think it's time to bring the team together or something like that. It was such an eye roll, just terrible moment.
Yeah.
I hated it. I just remember thinking when I was watching the theatrical version, like, it just really set a bad tone for me, like right from the start. I'm like, wow, that was just really bad.
It was really cheesy and cartoony.
Just really cheesy. And I guess I mean, you mentioned the Saturday morning cartoon feel, Bobby.
That's what I was going to say.
Which, I guess that does kind of play into that. I mean, but it was probably maybe the worst moment in the whole movie. I hated that. But that, in hindsight, or in retrospect, like, this was definitely a lot better.
Sure. Yeah, it was a lot better. But yeah, that's a big one for me. And then honestly, just at the time seeing the theatrical release, I was so excited to see more of Themyscira and to see more of the Amazons. And I enjoyed what I saw at the time. And then seeing this and even more of Themyscira and the Amazons and their story fleshed out even more so, I was like, well, even this is even better. Like, I thought that one was pretty good, but this is even better than that was. Like, and then it made me almost long for, like, man, I wish Zack had talked more when they were doing 1984, because they could have, there just could have been more. 84 could have been a little bit better in a few places. And I'm just like watching this version that Zack did and it just was so much, it was amazing. The story was really well done in the sequences. The visual effects were done. You connected with the characters again some more. But even, I don't know, it just, the whole thing just seemed better, like in comparison to 1984 and in comparison to the theatrical version. I just thought, man, this is the world that, this made me feel like I was watching Wonder Woman again, almost. Like it just, this is the world that I want to be brought into when it comes to the Wonder Woman stuff. This is what I'm here for. I'm here for it. I love it. I will stand up and applaud and cheer for it every single time. It was delicious, and I felt very enveloped in that world. Every time they would go to a scene back on Themyscira, I was super, super down with it. But so yeah, those are probably the two biggest like standouts for me. But then yeah, like, you know, you just get a little more fleshed out from Aquaman, and I felt like Aquaman was almost, this made me really enjoy Aquaman, considering I didn't like the film Aquaman. This actually made me like him and like it and his story and Arthur Curry's story so much more. And so, yeah, like it made me enjoy him as a character a lot more. But then also, like I said, the Flash, getting him more fleshed out. And then I think the biggest one, in my opinion, the biggest character that I feel like you actually finally get to really connect with is Cyborg. And he really becomes the heart of the story throughout, and he really holds the team together. And it was awesome to really see him, I think, to get more of him and to get more understanding of him. And I liked the way they developed him, and it just worked on a lot of levels. And yeah, no, it was really good to get him for what we did. And I am really bummed that we're not going to see more Ray Fisher in that role, and that we're not going to see more of that role, really. And yeah, I don't know. But those are kind of my biggest like takeaways of positives that I really, really enjoyed. I didn't have a lot of negative. Most of my negative would be the fact that the length, but like I said, the negative really isn't a negative. It's a double-edged sword for me.
Right.
So, no, I love it.
It's like the nature of the beast. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
it's long, but
it is what it is.
I mean, yeah, it goes back into, I think, and you know, Bobby, the way you kind of further explain the situation going from what Zack Snyder was making and how we got this with Joss Whedon. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not just that Joss Whedon like screwed it up.
Right.
I mean, he was put in a bad situation. I mean,
totally.
And Joss Whedon's other drama aside,
yeah,
I think we can all agree he is a talented filmmaker. I mean, Avengers is amazing.
Avengers is amazing.
Age of Ultron, maybe it's not as good as Avengers, but it's pretty damn good. And yeah, he is a very talented storyteller.
Yes.
So yeah, if he had just been hired in the first place to direct Justice League, I completely agree. It would have been a completely different movie than either of these versions. And it could have been the best version. I don't know. But who knows? I was going to say real quick, you know, you brought up the Aquaman thing. And yeah, I was watching it thinking, because again, I you know, for those who don't know, agree. I almost hated Aquaman. Like I basically do hate Aquaman. I don't like that film.
I can legitimately say that I do.
I tried watching it again, hoping really with an open mind, like, oh man, maybe I was too hard on it. Maybe I'll enjoy it. And it was actually almost unwatchable for me the second time. I really don't like that movie.
I really don't either.
Anyway, I remember watching these scenes in this version, which definitely have a more Zack Snyder aesthetic to it. And the bubbles that they use to talk is obviously the big difference between the Zack Snyder version and the James Wan version that we got. And I remember thinking, I like this. Like, I do like these kind of bubble things he's doing, but at the same time, it's like, it works for a movie where Aquaman isn't your main character and we're not spinning the entire film underwater. Like it's, in one sense, I was like, I like this kind of plan that Zack Snyder had, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, can you imagine if you had made Aquaman and that's how it always worked? Like, once they were underwater, they couldn't talk. They could only talk by, like, you know, surrounding themselves with, you know, air. Like, that would have been
exhausting.
Yeah, like that, it wouldn't have worked. Or it could have made for very interesting storytelling if you had that restriction where you were like, I don't want my characters to talk too much because I can't imagine constantly doing this effect with these air bubbles. Like, maybe it could have made for a more interesting Aquaman movie. I don't know. with that aside, I do like it the way it works in this, and I love those scenes, and I agree. I remember thinking, man, like I wish I could have gotten a Zack Snyder Aquaman film over the version I got. I mean, and I'm saying that as someone who hated that version, but and the only other thing, I mean, I'm kind of jumping around everywhere. You know, you mentioned like maybe negatives, and I thought about this negative because you brought up the Themyscira stuff. And, you know, we know that Zack Snyder was given, I guess, a budget basically to finish the effects and all the stuff that he had already shot. But there was really only maybe one scene where I was like, okay, these special effects are not quite working for me. And it was like the Amazons and the horses.
Okay, yeah.
There was a couple shots there where they're running from Steppenwolf and also fighting him, and the horse Amazon on riding horses effect did not. It definitely was like if they had to kind of just cut budget or whatever, this is where they did it, because it didn't look as good as almost everything else. I thought most of the other effects were pretty damn good. But
I remember not liking some of that specific segment, the Amazons on the horses in the theatrical, because I thought the effects were rough in that, so they might still just have been the same shots. I think that was still all the same, because that seemed very similar, and we got a little bit more of it. So I think they actually did use what they already had. I don't think any of that was new digital stuff. I think that was the old digital stuff that they were able to carry through. Anyways,
I don't know,
but yeah. So sorry. No, I agree with you. That section is a little effects wise is a little rough.
Yeah, that was a little rough, but most of it, I mean, and I brought up Steppenwolf. I, for one, way prefer this look.
Fully agree. Hard agree.
I like the armor. I remember seeing the first shot, like the image when we saw like how he looked different, and thinking, okay, that's interesting. I don't know what I think of that, but in action, the way the armor kind of moves and he like it's reactionary to him, and I don't know. Like I dug it.
The part where the Amazons shot a bunch of arrows into him, and then he moved and it just snaps him. I was like, dude, that's.
And it's not just the version we got with armor on him. His face is definitely different.
His face is better.
I like the shape of his face better. I just like it better.
The digital bad guy looks so much better.
Yes. He does.
So much better. Anyways. What do you have, Bobby? Like, what were some of like positives that you thought kind of came out of it? Any negatives that you thought came out of it?
He's like, don't throw it to me, man. I'll take this for a while.
I was going to talk about this for a while.
I know. Seriously.
I'm keeping a lot pretty short.
I'll try and restrain myself from some of it.
And then I want to talk about the epilogue.
I think one of the biggest positives to me was that because in the theatrical version, they were obviously trying to go a certain direction. They had to cut out Darkseid as being a presence. And in this version, you feel his presence. You see him. You know that he is looming large in this as the main person that they're going to have to go against at some point. And I really like that because I like the Darkseid character. So getting to see his ominence or that presence being there and knowing that he's a threat, and just getting to the Steppenwolf aspect, you do kind of understand what his motivations are, because they give you some of that backstory that he once betrayed Darkseid. And so as his penance, he has to conquer, like, I don't know, I think it was like 50,000 worlds or something. Mm. And so it's like you give him this story as to why he's doing what he's doing, as well as the fact that you also get to understand why Darkseid is trying to conquer all these worlds and what he's looking for. And so I really enjoyed having that as more of a why is what's going on, besides just these mother box MacGuffin things. And so I appreciated that as one thing. Like you mentioned, Michelle, one of the bigger standouts in this is just getting to incorporate all of the stuff that was going on with Cyborg and really giving you an insight as to just how powerful of a character he is. That his father in a monologue is saying, like, he could deploy nuclear weapons with a thought of his mind, and just the fact that he can hack into any system around the world at any given moment. The fact that he has that kind of ability and power shows you that he's no slouch as well. One of the other things that I really enjoyed about it is that, aside from certain character moments that get explored a little bit more, I really enjoyed just the overall structure of it. David, you mentioned that, and Michelle, you also talked about how the beginning of this movie is different than the theatrical version. And I think within this version, it really gives you a sense of leaning into Superman's not here. We've got to kind of put this team together, but it also tells you why, and gives you more of that understanding of what's going on, as opposed to up front Batman already dealing with a parademon and he already knows that there's something there. He doesn't know until he's filled in by Diana, and she tells him about this threat, and they start to assemble, and you see that those steps that they go through to assemble everyone, and it's not all done in just a quick beat. It takes a little time to bring all these people together, or to even go and talk to them and try and convince them to come together. So I like that is the way it was structured, because it gives it more build up to when you do get to see them come together, and when you get to honestly get that payoff of having them as a unit. And I think one of the other things that I really enjoyed immensely, in fact, it might be my favorite part of the entire thing, which is, there's a lot of parts I like, but this might be my favorite part, because I had a big old smile, and I think I even yelled out, actually, is when Superman actually arrives on the scene, and Steppenwolf has his axe and he's swinging it, and it hits Superman, and it doesn't even do anything, and he just blows on it, and it freezes, and then he just gets it shattered. And it was just like, that's Superman. That is the thing that they feared. That's why they were even saying, and you get this in the movie too, is like, those mother boxes didn't sing out, because they knew that as long as Superman was there, there was no conquering that world, that there's no conquering Earth, because he is the guy, he's the man. And so that really shows you, like, the power of Superman and how badass he is. And so I really, really love that part of the movie. Just seeing Superman in action in that way, and just the beatdown he put on Steppenwolf, I was really super happy with that. But
I'm gonna piggyback real quick on that. I fully agree. Like, it was, in the theatrical, you see how powerful Superman is when he's first awoken, and he fights everybody kind of because he's not sure who he is. He's confused about the whole situation. And you can see, because at one point, he turns and he catches the Flash. The Flash is like, oh my God, he totally can follow me. And you're like, wow, okay, Superman, power, you're getting more depth of his powers. But then it really just kind of wanes. And I remember in the theatrical version, when he was fighting Steppenwolf, I felt like, not that it was an even battle, but I felt like Superman did have to try a little bit in the theatrical version against Steppenwolf. And in this, like, there was just zero competition. He was just like, Steppenwolf, please. Like, he was just like, you put your axe on my shoulder. Silly, stupid, far distant alien guy from a different universe, whatever. Like, it just was so, like, you really saw how powerful Superman was. Like, it really comes through very hard there at the end. It was an awesome moment. It was really just super, super, super spectacular to see him really just, he was almost like Steppenwolf was a fly to him. It was just nothing, just easy, like, no problems. Like, all right, I got this under control. And yeah, like, it shows just how powerful this Kryptonian is. He shows up to Earth, at a time when mankind is at its most divided. And so it was probably a time when the mother boxes might have actually come alive. But then he crashes into Earth. And then there's a Kryptonian on Earth. And the mother boxes are like, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't go up against a Kryptonian. You gotta be kidding me. Like, no way. And then he dies. And so then, of course, they start calling out and doing what they do. Again, there's so many more layers and depths to this film that you get so much more out of it. It just all pieces together so much better.
Yeah.
It's fleshed out. It's nice.
Yeah, and I'd also, there's aspects of that whole, like I mentioned earlier, is if I were to watch any part of this again, it would be the part 6, and the part 6 is pretty much when they get to Russia and are having that big fight with Steppenwolf. From there on is like Action City, and I loved it. I ate it up, and so that's like I super enjoyed that sequence, because that whole sequence there, to me, as much as I did like it in the theatrical version, this is just superior. I mean, in the way that it looks visually, in the way that there's more of it, and just the stakes of it, it just felt better and felt more like this is the big ticket item. Like this is the epicness of seeing all these superheroes together and seeing them do their thing. So yeah, those are the things I loved. And I'd say some of the things that I didn't like all that much, I could have used a little less slow-mo. There was quite a bit of slow motion in the movie that I thought was like, okay. I mean, I can see when you're doing it with the Flash because it makes sense. But then there's certain times that you're just doing it and it's like, well, I don't know why we're doing it here.
I agree. I actually had that thought during the Wonder Woman bank scene. Like, they used it a lot in that, and it was almost like, well, yeah, Wonder Woman's, she's fast. The woman's fast. Like, let's be real. But it was like they were slow-moing it like she was almost like the Flash fast. And I was like, well, she's not that fast. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Bobby. That kind of bothered me too, watching it the other night. I was kind of like, I feel like we're slow-moing her down to make her appear like she's as fast as the Flash is. And she's not. She's fast. She ain't that fast. I don't know. That was my takeaway from it. And it kind of rubbed me weird.
I guess I didn't have that reaction to that particular scene. I mean, I know slow-mo wise, I guess I didn't bump on it while watching the movie. It's also just one of those things. It's like, it's a Zack Snyder thing.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I'm not defending it. I'm not, jumping on it either. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I all I can say is naturally I didn't watch the movie and think, oh man, it was just way too much. But I could totally see why you would think that. I don't, like, I don't disagree in a way. Yeah, maybe there's definitely a little too much slow-mo, but
I don't usually mind it so much, but I had to say, yeah, I bumped on it in that scene for sure. Like, I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of weird.
I guess I do
And
remember
say,
when I originally saw, I think, that scene. Sorry, Bobby. Even though I know I get labeled as the DC guy, I don't have like a strong knowledge base of Wonder Woman. And I remember thinking, man, she's almost moving. So does she always move this fast? Like, this seems like Flash fast. Like,
yeah,
I mean, and we know it's not. I mean, we even see Flash do things in this movie that are like well beyond that kind of speed. But still, it was almost like, was she this fast in the comics? This seems like ridiculously fast for someone who's not the Flash or something like that. But I don't know. Sorry, Bobby. You were saying.
So no, it's fine. I was just gonna say that I think that one of the other things that I feel like I don't know. It's weird. Okay, so I on one hand I appreciate the restraint in not using Wonder Woman's theme too much, but then on the other side of that, whatever they replaced it with that Amazonian singing thing felt a little much to me. It was like
I'm trying to
every
remember
time
what
almost
scene
that
was
they
that
would
in.
cut to her.
I remember that there was one particular scene though with the Amazonian singing thing. What I forget what
It's
was.
when she has the arrow after she went to the home of Athena, the temple of Athena, and she takes the arrow, she puts
Right.
it in the wall, and she goes into that little like cavern that has the
Yeah.
paintings. And so while she's torching, she has the torch to show candlelight, so she's going through the paintings. It's going through that whole scene.
Okay.
That did seem kind of long. I will agree.
But sorry, Bobby, go on.
And they no, it's okay. And they almost use it as a replacement to the her theme song. So it was like every time she would do something, they would play the Amazonian it was like it's a little much. So I think that it's sort of with the slow motion. In a shorter movie, I wouldn't have probably noticed it. But in a 4-hour movie, if there's doing it that much, you tend to notice it. And so it was like a little much to me. And
Well, that theme is very strong too. Like it's a very, I mean, all of the themes all kind of interloop together a little bit, but that one is probably the most stand out-ish, I would say.
Am I her regular theme or
yeah.
yeah? There's no doubt. I mean,
So when it's there, it's you notice
because
it.
I there's times in this version and both versions that it's like I like her theme. I'm not knocking on it, but yeah, when you're faced with you're doing a movie and all these different heroes and they all have their own themes and you're trying to like incorporate them in each of their kind of moments. When her theme comes in, it's a bit like this is a different movie now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a very
like,
strong.
and I don't know
Yeah.
that necessarily that kind of method I think necessarily works. And I'm not saying this like I'm no composer, but I don't know. I don't remember like watching an Avengers movie and hearing too much of like each, too much of anyway of each of the different characters' themes. I know they get used, but in this sometimes it's like it seems like there was an overuse of stuff like that. I would agree with that.
No.
yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I kind of complimented the fact that they restrained on using her
Right.
theme, her normal theme, but then they overcompensated by using that new Amazonian theme. So it was like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to hear too much of her theme because, like you said, David, it kind of it makes itself known. It kind of overpowers whatever because you hear it, but you don't want to do that too much. But then it kind of went the opposite direction. And speaking of singing, wasn't a fan of the Norwegian women doing their little
Yeah.
song to
That was a little
Aquaman as
odd.
he goes
That
into
was
the
a
ocean.
little
I
awkward.
was like it was awkward, and she stops to sniff his sweater, and it was just like,
Yeah.
what is
That
this?
was
I don't
little.
know.
It was
Yeah,
not
I agree.
necessary. That scene was not. We could have saved a minute
Yeah.
and 20 seconds by just chopping that bad boy out.
Exactly.
That I yeah.
Exactly.
Like there's a lot of stuff where we get to like sit on emotional kind of character moments. And a lot of it, like you said earlier, Michelle, like, yeah, you could trim the movie down, but I don't really want to. But if there was one scene that I was
I
like,
could've-
this movie doesn't need this, it's that. Like,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a few
Yeah.
little things like that, and it's like I could have trimmed out a minute and 20 here, a minute 20 there, so we could have had like a 3 hour and 45 minute film. That'd have been fine.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the idea there being just really laying down like how important he is to this like little
These
village.
fishing communities,
And
yeah.
and
Right.
not only with this song that they do almost, I don't know if it's like a traditional thing they do when he leaves or what, and then like the sniffing of the sweater, like, which is a little odd. But I guess that's the idea there, to just really lay down like how important he is to them. But
It was such a weird moment. It was like, is she just like in awe of him, or is it?
she
Yeah,
like,
I remember that night.
Yeah.
That was good times. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so like, well, which way does this go? Now I'm intrigued, and I shouldn't be intrigued in this moment at all. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few little things like that, but overall, yeah. So,
Yeah. And there was like that one other aspect I think of music that I don't know, maybe if I did watch it again, maybe it wouldn't bother me, but it definitely was something I noticed. and wasn't a fan of upon this first watching, which was, and it has to do with Aquaman again, is when he goes back into the ocean, and whatever musical, I don't know what song that was that they were playing, but I know I prefer the theatrical version more so than the song that they were, whatever song that
Are you
is.
talking about the song like when
that
he's
song?
going out down the like pier with the bottle and that? Yeah,
Mhm.
I can't remember what it was in the theatrical version versus.
Yeah, because
It was that-
this was Hurt, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Hurt.
This was a Johnny
I wish
Cash
I
one,
knew.
though, wasn't it?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to.
I know
to
the
look.
other one was a. Oh God, no, I can't even think of it.
Wasn't it like a
wasn't-
White Keys? I don't know.
It wasn't
me see.
AC/DC. It was
Oh yeah, White Stripes sounds like.
White Stripes. Does
White
sound familiar
Stripes,
now.
yeah.
I think it might have been something like that. I don't know. It looks like you're looking it up, Bobby. Maybe you can figure it
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
No, I have to agree. I think the original song that Joss Whedon chose for that shot is better than this one. But at the same time, these are all such little minor bops for me.
Right.
I will say what I did.
Yes,
There was
same.
one. There was what? Did you find it?
No. Go ahead. I was just saying I agree. It's the same.
I was going to jump to a completely different topic.
Oh, go ahead.
what?
I was going to jump to. I actually kind of liked the scene where it kind of shows the whole battle for Earth, the original one, whereas the Amazons, the people from Atlantis, the gods, seeing Zeus and Ares.
Oh, when they were originally fighting Darkseid.
When they're originally fighting Darkseid, and I thought that was really cool. And there was a Green Lantern there, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like we're getting a Green Lantern, and I know the Green Lantern is a very touchy subject right now, still with the WB, but I was like, oh, cool. Like they're at least acknowledging the lanterns exist. Like they're there. Like
'Cause I think it was in the
know.
original version that we see one in the distance, right? Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
get like this
Yeah.
kind of up close shots like we got in this version,
Right.
but we see like a lantern like fighting in that scene, I think, or fighting in a scene like
Yeah, it was kind of
out,
but it was a little
out
more.
there.
Yeah, but it was much more prominent in this, and I liked that it was a lot more prominent. Like I thought it brought the fact that the lanterns have been around. Like they're not a new thing. They've been around. which
No, I mean
we in comic knowing know that.
I agree because I mean in this universe, like if there weren't one there, it definitely warrants the question. Like, well, where the hell are they? Like,
Right.
if there were a big moment in the universe that needed some, help protecting this planet, like
That was it.
you would think a lantern, at least one,
At least one
would
freaking
be here
lantern
for
would have
this.
shown up for Darkseid showing up to destroy
But
Earth.
I like the moment a lot of him dying in the ring, like immediately
Taking
taking off to do its thing, and Darkseid trying to get it, and
it kind of goes away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, I thought that was cool.
I liked that. Oh, did you see the funny tweet that somebody mentioned to Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds commented? Mm-mm. It was kind of funny. I can't remember what it was, but it was like somebody tweeted like Ryan, man, the new digital version of your face or something like that. And then Ryan Reynolds comment, some just normal human average Joe Schmo, not anybody in Hollywood, made a funny
Right.
joke. And then Ryan Reynolds, of course, tweets
Did
back
reply.
and comments, and it was hilarious. It was just
Yeah, I didn't see that.
something like, yeah, it was such an improvement. Oh my God. Like he was, it was just a cute
Right.
back and forth. Cause he has a love-hate relationship with that film, and he always digs on it when he can for fun. And it was just kind of funny to see on Twitter. Sorry,
Right.
totally random tangent. So no, I like the Green Lantern. I was going to ask what you guys thought about the Martian Manhunter. Sorry. Blah, blah.
well,
That's a totally different character.
I know. Sorry. I'm talking too much. I'm getting excited. I'm saying the wrong thing.
First, Bobby, did you find whatever you were looking for? I found one site that shows.
I did.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it is the White Stripes, and it's called Icky Thump.
Okay.
Okay, it
That
was
was
a
the
cute
original.
film. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it.
But yeah, I don't know what the new one was. Like,
See, I thought it was a Johnny Cash song.
Yeah, I think I did see something that said what it was. It says Rose Betts' Song to the Siren.
oh, that
I
one.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's
So-
apparently according to this is in the Barry Allen scene.
Oh.
Yeah, that's in the Barry Allen scene when he sees
okay.
Yeah.
what's her name?
the film sees Barry Allen and Iris West meet for the
Iris.
first time. Yeah.
I'm sitting here like going through flowers in my head. I'm like,
Right.
what's the flower? Anyways, so
Okay, interesting.
Martian Manhunter.
Well, so are we jumping into the epilogue stuff now, or?
Well, because he was before that,
He did make an appearance earlier in the movie.
but I would definitely want to
Which
talk
surprised me
epilogue.
because I had heard, he was going to be in the epilogue. So when he popped up earlier, I was like, oh, I didn't expect to see him so soon. So I knew he was coming, but I didn't think he was coming there.
I will say what was interesting about that scene was I think a part of that was in the I haven't watched the theatrical in a while, and I should have watched the
Yeah,
theatrical.
where his mother talks to.
Yeah, Martha
I
goes
watched
in,
it the night before.
Yeah,
but
did
that
you?
scene didn't seem to resonate with me in the theatrical version as much as it did in this. Actually, I feel like it was a longer scene maybe between Martha and Lois Lane. Am I correct?
I mean,
Am I
you
correct?
watched it more
Definitely
recently.
was in
Bobby.
this. Yeah, in this version, it definitely was, and some of the conversation wasn't as it was seen there. In fact, they were talking about different stuff about her not working.
It
Well,
just seemed
actually,
much
I think.
more impactful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that they didn't mention that she wasn't working, but she was just talking about how she had been just doing sort of puff pieces. And in this version, she wasn't working, but in the other one, she was still working at the planet, but just wasn't doing anything important.
Right.
Well,
And
it made
yeah,
the whole
and it was
comment of
just
Martha
almost small talk.
Yeah. It just made Martha
But this
saying
one
return to
felt
the land of the
more
living. Yeah, it made it really more impactful.
Yeah,
And then of course then
But then
the door
it-
then she goes out the door and it's like
yeah. That's why it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword because I would have liked if that would have actually been Martha saying all these things as opposed to it being the Martian Manhunter. But at the same time, it is kind of a cool little reveal that
Yeah.
he's invested and he's trying to pull Lois back from out of where she is because he understands her importance. And
well,
so
he'd been
I
working
do
with
appreciate
her
it
from
on that
in the Man of Steel film, they worked kind of side by side a little bit. And so it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to see him invested in her.
Yeah.
I was going to say really quick, the song, to jump back to that, was There Is a Kingdom
Okay.
by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That was the song that plays when he's
so I'm
walking
way
out.
off.
Into the,
Okay.
Sorry, I was not Johnny Cash.
Yeah, and I
Shocking. I'm
hadn't heard it
wrong. Who knew?
before, so-
I know I'm wrong a lot.
So before we, I guess, jump into the epilogue, can I say what I miss from the theatrical version and what I don't miss?
I was almost scared to ask, but I was going to ask you.
I
So-
only have one scene.
Okay.
And my problem is,
So-
and you just watched it, Bobby, like I haven't watched that version in a while. And it's funny, Michelle, you said something like, oh, I don't know if I should I kind of want to watch the theatrical version now. This was after we watched the Zack Snyder cut.
They're like
You
today
know,
or something. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't remember what my reaction was to you saying that, but I remember thinking, I don't think I can. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess in hindsight, listening to your opinion again, Bobby, it definitely sounds like you liked it more than I did. Though I definitely, appreciated things about it, and I did like things about it. Now, especially having seen this one, I think I'm good with the theatrical. I'm not saying I'll never watch it again, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could. Like,
Because you're so happy with this.
it's not even that I'm so happy with this. It's that I like this version better. This version feels right to me. If I go back, I guess I could do it just as an exercise to just kind of almost as research
Right.
to
Right.
watch it again.
Yeah.
But other than that reason, it's like, I think if I were to go back and watch that version, it's now especially not going to feel right to me. And
Right.
yeah, even though there may be
tainted in a
moments
way.
like the ones you may bring up now, Bobby, that you think are better in the theatrical, for the most part, it is inferior for me compared to this experience. So I don't know if I could, but anyway, I haven't watched it recently,
Yeah.
so I can't think of like certain things as easily that, oh, I did like this scene better, that scene better. So I'm curious to hear what you bring up, Bobby.
So it's interesting because even before I had a chance to sit down and watch the Zack Snyder version, I already had certain things in mind that I was kind of hoping they were Zack's thing more than Joss's thing
I have one
because
of
I
those in
wanted them to be
particular.
in that movie.
Yeah, there was one scene in particular that
So
it's coming up in this movie, and I'm like, please let this have been a Zack Snyder scene, and luckily it was. But anyway, go on.
Oh,
okay,
we gotta talk
okay.
about
So
that.
yeah, I want
We're
to hear
coming
about
back to
that
that
too.
one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And I
Yeah,
feel like I only have one
we'll
scene that I
make
really
a round
wish.
table.
Yeah, there's
Right.
only one scene I really wish. I was like, oh, I kind of like that scene. I kind of wish that was in this. But otherwise, I really don't have very many. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Bobby, what you got?
So no, it's cool. So the first one that I had was that I really loved the idea that um, because Flash was so new to the superhero aspect and he was scared, uh, Batman gave him some advice, and he was like, "Just save one," and then he was like, "And then you'll know what to do," and it was completely plays out that way. The fact that you know being a hero is about doing that aspect, and once you save somebody you'll know how to continue that. And so that was a Joss thing and because it
Yeah.
wasn't in the Zack Snyder version of it. So
Mm.
I was a little sad that that wasn't there because I liked that hero moment beat, him giving that advice to this kid who's never done anything like that. And like he had said at that point, or I don't know if he says it in the Zack Snyder version, but he said that all he normally does is run fast and push people. And that's all he's been used to doing. And so that makes sense. But that wasn't there. And then another one that wasn't there that I kind of miss is I liked the idea that Batman was smart enough to know that in bringing Superman back, if things go south, I need a contingency plan. And in the theatrical version, the contingency plan was he knew that if he brought Lois there, that could be something that would touch Superman to kind of get to him in some way, shake him, rattle him. And in the Zack Snyder version, it's not that. It's kind of like she's brought there because there's this big explosion and she sees him up in the air, and so she comes back to where she was. And so it's by happenstance that she actually intervenes before she lights up Batman, or he lights up Batman with his heat vision again. And so I kind of missed the fact that that plays into the Batman always thinking and always kind of being maybe one chess move ahead kind of thing. I kind of missed that aspect that wasn't there. And then this one, I doubt either of you will agree with me that you're happy that it wasn't there. Although I can understand why it wasn't there because of the tone of this movie and how putting it in this movie wouldn't have worked. But I missed it in the sense that I liked the scene. And that's when they were on the ship, and then Aquaman is sort of freaking out about this mission that they're getting ready to go on and how he doesn't think it'll work and they're all going to die. And he said something about Wonder Woman being hot or something. And then you see that he was sitting on the lasso of truth, which is why he was like saying all this stuff, which I thought was a fun comedic moment that they had thrown in there in the beat of them getting ready to go on this bin to try and save everyone. So I can understand why it wasn't in there, but I did like that that comedic moment from the theatrical version.
It's very
and,
Joss's thing.
I don't
Very
disagree with
Joss.
that. If anything, again, going back to having not watched it super recently and not remembering details like that scene, like I kind of forgot about that until you just brought it up. But I do remember thinking in general, like liking them as a team on that trip to Russia, like on the ship. I remember in general going, I really liked all that stuff. And that's a big part of it.
That's part of my thing, actually.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Continue, Bobby.
And then one that I didn't like, that I'm glad it didn't carry over and wasn't there. even in the theatrical version, when I was sitting there watching it, I was like, why do we keep cutting to this Russian family? Who cares about them? Like, I don't care what they're going through right now. I mean, it kind of plays off in the end when Superman and Flash are saving people, and he saves them in the truck. Flash saves them, but as a whole, they just never really served a good purpose, and we kept cutting to them. And I was like, I don't care, who cares? And so that was completely removed from the Zack Snyder version. That there was no one in that town. It wasn't. And in the other version, there was a lot of different people in that town that needed saving still. So that was out. I mean, I like the idea of saving people, but the way that it worked in Zack's film worked out better because you saw more of just the action between the heroes and the parademons and Steppenwolf and stuff like that. So that was pretty much it. I mean, I guess the only other thing that I still don't know if I wish it was there or I'm still not sure one way or the other about it. And it's the whole aspect of the between Bruce and Diana.
Oh, there it is.
How he calls her out. How he calls her out for kind of shading herself from the world and mourning over Steve that's been dead, and she kind of, because she goaded him in a way that made him say that, and then she punched him. But it was like, okay, I don't know if I miss it or not, because again, I like sort of the way it played in this version, where in the Zack Snyder version, where they don't have that friction and they're just sort of on the same page of trying to scheme and everything, and see how it wouldn't have worked necessarily, but I see how it did work in the theatrical version. So don't know still how I feel if I wanted it there or not, but I noticed the difference in that as well. But that's all I got. So
I think as a whole, I'm glad that there weren't people in the Russian town or village. I'm glad that whole section was gone. It just felt like such filler in the theatrical version. It just seemed kind of out of place. So I'm really glad that Zack, that wasn't part of Zack's thing. I think my big thing is because, and I'm not super familiar with the comics, and I watched the cartoon, but God, that was so many years ago. But to my knowledge, there's kind of a thing between Wonder Woman and Batman, right? They kind of have a relationship kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. So in both films, I think you're getting kind of it alludes to that a little bit. I think in the theatrical, Batman kind of has that friction with her, but almost in that scene specifically, he's doing it in a way to kind of go, you need to move on. And he's interested.
And step up.
Right, but also step up. And then in this version, it's a little bit more playful, their love, or their attraction to each other. But I think in the theatrical, there's a scene, and it's in the plane, their plane on their way to Russia. I have to say, I agree. I think the theatrical version has a little bit more time with them in the plane, and it kind of pulls them together a little bit better. And I liked it. And then there's literally specifically a scene between Bruce and Diana in the plane, and I really like it. It's Bruce kind of changing his clothes, and he's sore, and he's getting older, so things are kind of starting to ache, and she kind of says something, and they kind of had this little flirtatious moment in the theatrical version, and that was kind of the theatrical version's way of alluding to something down the road. And then in this version, they have the whole mouse, hand on the mouse kind of thing, clicking around the computer, kind of you take control, I can take control, and that's that one's kind of two ways. It's both of them being in charge and being in control, and then two, it's kind of a little flirtatious thing. So it kind of was when I saw that scene, I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. And I liked that. And then when the other scene down the road didn't happen in the plane, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of a shame. I kind of wish they had two scenes to continue alluding to that. But then the little feminist in me is like, why do we have to have a love interest story anywhere in any of this stuff? It doesn't have to happen. But at the same time, I kind of like it because I think I know Batman and Wonder Woman do have a thing eventually.
I get what you're saying
back and forth.
with it not having to happen, but I think it's subtle enough that it's not
subtle.
too much. I think that's why it works.
Yeah.
Like if it had been really like just hitting us hard with, oh man, they've got a thing, like then that would have been. I agree, that would have been too much.
No, but I like the subtlety of the mouse scene in this one, and then I like the subtlety in the plane of the theatrical, and I wish that scene was also in this, because it had been two small, subtle scenes to kind of edge into it, I think.
Right.
So that's really all I got.
I mean, of course, listening to you guys, I'm like, well, maybe I should watch it again. Like, now I'm just curious, because it's been so long that I'm like, I'm not remembering a lot of this stuff. It's not fresh. But as soon as you guys bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, this. I remember that.
I do kind of agree with Bobby. I think the scene where they go in and they have the scientists and everybody that the alien fly things have lined up. I think I like I don't know what else to call the parademons. There it is. I think I think in that scene, I like Flash better in the theatrical version, because I think he does more in that scene than what he does in Zack's version, in my opinion. So I'll have to. I kind of have to agree.
He's just running around a little bit in this version.
Yeah, he seems to not really quite fit anywhere. He wasn't really even doing anything. He wasn't really even like moving people or helping get them out. He was kind of like cheering them on up the stairs, and it was kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
He's like cheering them on their way out, and I'm thinking, like, or you know,
help him.
Cyborg's carrying a dude. Maybe you could grab one and you can run him out, come back and get one or two more, and kind of speed things up a little. You know, since you're fast. Just spitballing things around in my head here. So no, I have to agree. I think that scene played out. That portion, specifically the Flash portion in that scene, played out better in the theatrical version. Anyways, now we're getting really nitpicky. Let's talk about the big stuff.
Anyway, what I was saying, though, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, like I don't remember a lot of it, so I can't point to all this stuff from the original that I thought was better or worse. I mean, I know I pointed out one thing early in the movie that just really stuck out to me that I hated, that I'm glad it wasn't here.
That was bad.
And Bobby, it sounds like you want to say something.
I just remembered something, but I'll go after you say what you were going to say. All
the things are clicking now.
Okay.
Well, no, it was just one other thing that I remember. Glad that it didn't transfer over into the Zack Snyder version, but if you had something else, I can wait until.
Oh no, I mean the only thing on the reverse, I remember watching this version thinking, man, I really hope this was a Zack Snyder scene, because I really liked it, and luckily it was. And I mean, it was just the scene with Superman when we first have Superman. You know, he's alive for the first time, and he's confronting the rest of the Justice League. Basically, that entire scene, but especially, I mean, that moment with the Flash and him like being able to keep track of the Flash and the Flash's reaction to that. I just remember always really liking that. So I was glad that it was in this.
It's a spectacular moment, and I agree. I'm fully happy that was an initial Zack shot thing, and that was it.
It was probably the one thing as I was watching this version that I knew we were getting close to that, and I'm like, man, it's gonna bump me out if that's not in this. Because I really like that moment. That was a good one. Luckily. I was almost surprised. I'm like, oh, thank God Zack did this. It wasn't.
You mean the slow-mo scene was Zack's?
Well, that too. But I mean, because it was also a more humorous moment. It very easily could have been a Joss Whedon moment. And then it was nice to see that it wasn't.
No, I super agree. Like, because Zack's humor is subtle at best. And like, but he uses the slow-mo thing. So I agree with you. Like, I was kind of back and forth, like, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? But it's refreshing to know that not only like that scene, that shot, that specific moment, not only is a Zack thing, but it's kept along, because it's really a brilliant moment for so many reasons. It's just it's genius on level. Like, it just was really, it's really awesome. Right. And I agree with you. It filled my little heart too. Everybody was happy. Our living room cheers.
And then Bobby, you had something. I will say before we get like if we start jumping into like I know you want to talk about the epilogue and you guys want to talk about that, but there is just a general thought I have on a particular character I do want to kind of share at one point. But Bobby, you had something that you remembered about that you want to talk about.
Yeah. So, well, we can swing back to that, but the thing that I was really thinking about was the idea of definitely less gratuitous butt shots in Zack Snyder's version of Wonder Woman. No behind the shots like there were in the theatrical version. And one thing that didn't make it in this version that I was glad to not see was Flash tripping over Diana's breast or falling on breast, which was just like, oh, that was a little weird and awkward in the
I forgot about that
theatrical version. Yeah, so that wasn't there, and I think it was just, I don't know, it was just something weird that was within that version, and I think that one scene that in particular, I imagine both of you guys are probably happy didn't make it over, was a scene with Batman and Superman, and Batman or Superman said something about, I know how much you didn't want to see me or something. He goes, I did not, or something. How he sort of stumbles, Batman. He's like, I didn't not want to see you, kind of. I'm not happy to see you or something, he says. But it was very out of character. I know a lot of people didn't like that for Batman to be flushed away. But I don't know. To me, it worked well enough in that movie because of how the nature of it was and how the guilty it felt. And he was happy to see Superman back alive amongst the living. So it worked for me in that. But I could definitely wouldn't work in this version. So there's a lot more silliness for some of the characters in the other version that, like I said, kind of fits that Saturday morning motif and more so than this version does. And even with the Flash, I mean, I think he was a lot more silly in the theatrical version, where even when he first goes into the Batcave and he's zipping all over the place and sitting in the Batmobile and it's just like a lot. So I think it tones down on that in terms of this version. So those were just the other little bits that I had, but I think that was it pretty much.
There was something else you were going to bring up, it sounded like, or no?
No, I'm excited to talk about the epilogue.
Okay. No, the other thing I was going to just say, and I feel like I'm the minority here. I could be wrong. Because I've even seen some kind
I'm the minority here.
Oh, well, this is true. And with that, we're going to wrap things up now.
It's been a great show, guys. It's been good. We'll talk about the epilogue later. It's fine. We'll separate episode.
No, I was gonna say, because I've even seen some chatter. I don't know how, like, if this has been a trending thing with the kind of, I guess, more respect for Ben Affleck's Batman. And I'm not. Please let me be clear. I'm not like totally anti, like, Batfleck. Like, for the most part, especially actually, as much as I may not like Batman versus Superman, I thought he as Batman was one of the better things about that movie. Maybe with the exception of a couple of scenes with him, but I was happy to see what I saw of his Batman when we got that film. And then this movie, in a lot of ways, I do like his character. I like Bruce Wayne in this film. I like him as Bruce Wayne. But when it comes to Batman, and I think it might actually be a very conflicting opinion I have about the suit. Like, in one way, I love this suit. I do. Like, and also his build. There's no doubt with the suit and his build. It's very obvious he was going for a very Dark Knight Returns version of Batman. But then there's also something about it the way he moves in that suit. And this is a constant complaint I have of almost every theatrical version of Batman with the cowl. And in this whole thing where if it's that's, you know, the kind of more comic book cowl where it just comes all the way down into the cape, like he can't move his neck. And thus why in the, you know, Christopher Nolan versions, you know, oh, well, they changed the suit into a version I really don't like where he doesn't have that kind of attached cowl to his cape where it's like separated. So, oh, he can move his neck better. And that may make sense. But I mean, the fact is, and maybe physically it doesn't really work in the real world that, you know, if it's built that way, he can move his neck around. But it's really obvious in this movie, like he's always moving in a way where he's like having to do this and he just feels he looks so
Lunky.
stiff. And when he's amongst the rest of this group, the Justice League, there's something about that I think really starts to stand out and it makes him look a little out of place. Like not only is he kind of out of place in that he's, you know, and there's that joke with him in the Flash where he's like, what's his superpower? Well, I'm rich, which is kind of the case. Like, I mean, he has no superpower. He's just really smart, but he's also just has a lot of money that he can, you know, make on, you know, buy all these toys. But, you know, there's also already that's kind of separating him from the rest of this group, the Justice League. But then also like there's just shots of him like physically, he just looks kind of funny to me compared to the rest of them. I think because of the way he has to carry himself in that suit that just doesn't look natural. And it almost makes him look a little silly because of the way he moves. And I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way or because in a lot of ways I do like this version of Batman. And if anything, these movies, Batman versus Superman and Justice League, just kind of frustrate me that I can't dig in a little more into this version of Batman. Like this is it, you know, other than his short appearance in Suicide Squad. You know, this is all, and I'm not going to see anything else. Well, Flashpoint, but
Flashpoint, yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I think between Ben Affleck's build and then just the suit itself, he's lunky when he moves. And I have to say, like, when it comes to moving his neck, I think they should just say, screw it, let Batman move his damn neck. Because with him so built into it, it just makes the movements very lunky and very clunky, and it makes him just it's not believable that this person would make it. Like, I feel like having such a limitation and being so like clunky and hunky and lunky and just big
there's other
like
scenes,
this, like his shoulders just don't move.
Like that fight scene in Batman versus Superman, which is a fantastic fight scene with Batman toward the end of the film, when that like building where he's fighting all these guys, and it's like the one like real action scene he has in that movie. And I mean, he's doing all sorts of crazy shit. But then there's these other scenes where I know it's like a kind of almost a splash page kind of shot of all of them like standing there, and he just looks so like
stiff, stuck in a suit.
Like, I'm a superhero too, guys. Like, it just like I belong. Like, do you though? Like, it looks kind of weird.
The costume, I think, can use an update. I think they can just do, let's thin it out a little up there in the shoulders and the neck, and just make it more pliable and more realistic. Like,
well, like, you know, in the Matt Reeves, the Batman that we're gonna get. I mean, it's obviously also an earlier Batman. It definitely has a look about it where he looks like he's gonna be a little more agile, and
I'm down with it.
Oh, I'm totally down with it.
It's great.
Anyway, it was just something that I thought about as I was watching it, and I wanted to bring it up.
I will say I think people were kind of mixed on Ben Affleck being Batman, but I'll be honest, like, I think actually seeing this, I like him even more.
Well, and that's the reaction I've seen. I don't know where I saw that, but I saw something kind of where there seemed to be a very positive reaction to him trending post this version of Justice League. Like not just that people are happy with the movie, but also like we want more Ben Affleck as Batman kind of thing.
I think in Batman versus Superman, you just got to see such an angry Bruce Wayne. Like, he was just so angry, and it just kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier that it almost, you kind of lose Ben Affleck in it, and it just seems like a very cranky Bruce Wayne in Batman versus Superman. And he's angry, and I super get it, but right. Like, you get lost in it a little bit. And then I feel like you don't really get to, I hate to say, like, get to know him in the theatrical version of Justice League. But in this, like, he just feels more comfortable in his own skin almost. Like, I'm like, this is the Bruce Wayne that we were looking for here, right here. Like, this is the Bruce Wayne that we all know. Like, you can tell he's thinking about things. He's tinkering on stuff with Alfred. Like, he's tinkering on stuff by himself. Like, it's more Bruce Wayne. It's more like what I like. And I like seeing Ben Affleck like that. It worked. It pulled it together so much better.
Yeah.
I think it was what we've been meaning to see, and I like it. But we really need to get moving on this. I'm so excited to talk about the epilogue.
Well, we're going
really
on,
long.
We're going on long, so yeah. If you want to talk about the epilogue, well, start us off. What do you want to talk about?
I think I would like to hear what Bobby says actually first.
Okay.
Well, no,
He's got to have
don't know
thoughts
what
on the
to
epilogue.
even say because I don't know where you were trying to go with it. I didn't know if you had questions or like I don't know.
Well, I think I'll just say like there's obviously two major things in the epilogue in my head, to my opinion. One is obviously the dream sequence that Bruce Wayne has, and then two is after the dream sequence that Bruce Wayne has, the interaction that he has with Martian Manhunter.
Right.
And I think that's I'll talk about that first. Actually, that I think is a really interesting interaction because I think Bruce as a whole is going, there's gotta be more. Like we need more help. Like it just can't just be us, because even us, we're doing our own things all the time too. And so it was like getting him, it's like, oh, there's more. There is more. I can get more of us. Like this could be a thing. You could tell he almost is like, he's almost off put, like, wow, look at you, green and flying in the air there. That's okay, cool. Like he almost like kind of surprised him, but he's happy about it. It's like a happy surprise for him. But he also just woke up from this crazy ass dream too. So
Right.
I don't know. I like this scene. I think it's, again, maybe I'm just being cheesy, but it's like I like that they had the Green Lantern moment. I like that we get Martian Manhunter. I like that we're getting more expanse into the catalog that is DC Comics and the superheroes, and it just makes me happy. That's really all I'm gonna say about that one.
I get that. Absolutely.
Oh, Bobby's not a fan.
No, that's the thing. So as it stands, as it is, I'm a fan. I like it. I think it's an interesting epilogue in the way that it sets up a future that, in theory, we'll never get to see.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I appreciate about it. I appreciate that is a nightmare sequence that's supposed to take place. I don't know how many years in the future or how far into the future, but there's this idea that one, we get this scene with Lex Luthor that he is recruiting Deathstroke because he's enticed him with the idea that he knows that, or he tells him that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And then you see within that aspect that next thing you know, Deathstroke is working with Batman, and it's in this nightmare future where they're all this, I don't know,
dystopian,
weird sort of gang of people. Yeah, well, yeah, it's a dystopian future, but it's also these people who are unlikely allies. You got Joker working with Batman, working with Deathstroke, working with Cyborg, working with Mira. And it's like, well, why? And they kind of explain and they show it, a little bit of it. And that you see that one part of what they don't go too much into, but you get a little bit sense of that Darkseid is looking for the anti-life equation, and it's found that it's on Earth. And so that means he has to come back to Earth because he wants it. And what I think it sets up this idea that now you don't see exactly how it has necessarily, other than you see Superman screaming out in pain over this charred body, which you would assume to be Lois Lane, and then he's gone bad, and they have to face off against him. And so on one hand, I think it's interesting because the scenario, and it makes strange bedfellows because of who's all working together. No sense of where, based on what you get in the thing that you like, Michelle, which I like too, the scene with Bruce and Martian Manhunter. No sense of where he's at in that time frame. Like
Right.
that Aquaman has been killed off by Superman, and Wonder Woman is dead as well. You see her with the coins over her eyes, and her mom mourning her. But I think it's just a cool little coda, like a little thing to just sort of be like, oh, this is a little interesting thing. But where I hesitate and kind of have mixed feeling on it, and where I'm at the point where I hope we don't get more, is because in an article I read that what Zack Snyder said his idea for have been Justice League 2 and 3, which would have followed the Justice League movie, was that Darkseid teams up with Lex Luthor, which seems in of itself, but Lex Luthor tells Darkseid the way to get Superman is to kill Lois Lane. Darkseid kills Lois Lane, and then Darkseid uses the anti-life equation on Superman to corrupt him. And so then there you have it, as why he's facing off against the members of this whatever put together the Justice League, as it would seem. And then within the context of the second and third film, what plays into Batman v Superman, when you see that scene where Flash to Bruce Wayne or Batman, and he's talking about Lois, so you have to save Lois. And within the scene that you get in this movie, where Joker is goading Batman, he's saying like he won't put himself out there to die. That becomes the answer, is that in order to prevent the future that they're in, Batman has to die. So he gives himself over to getting of Lois. He makes that sacrifice, and so that plays out within the second and third Justice League movie, where I guess they go back in time and it's that wrong, and then it flashes forward at some point, and they kind of allude to it in the one scene with that she has a pregnancy test there. So you see that future version, maybe probably in the third movie, I imagine, that she went and they have a kid, I don't know, 20 years old at the point. And because Bruce Wayne has made this sacrifice, they name their kid Bruce. So he's Bruce Kent. And they take him to the Batcave, where they then want him to take over the mantle and be Batman. And he has no powers, by the way, because whatever. He just doesn't have powers. So he's not like super. But he becomes, essentially, they're setting him up to be the new Batman, the son of Clark. And
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I don't know how I would have. I definitely don't feel like I would have liked that if that would have been the main DCEU that we would get. I don't even know that I would like it, even if it just stayed on HBO Max as a pocket universe. Because to me, what you're saying to me is, in all like this, is that, all right, we got Justice League, and then we would have probably got a solo movie with him facing off against Deathstroke, which was the one that Ben Affleck was working on. And then we would have got Justice League 2 and 3. All right, cool. Where's Man of Steel 2? I don't know. Well, if you got 2 Justice League movies and a Batman movie, there's room for a Superman movie in there. And then you're telling me in those 2 Superman or those 2 Justice League movies, he's the bad guy. All right. So where does the good Superman that I've been come into play at all in any of this? And so it's like I don't want to see Batman or Superman being evil. I just don't. I want to see him good, and I think that's probably another reason why I'm so connected to the Superman and Lois show that's on CW is because it's the Superman I want to see, and I want to see that Superman in film, but. If we were to get Zack Snyder's version to continue, it just doesn't seem like we'd get that for a while, if at all. And I don't know if it would have just closed out the DCEU and then they would have rebooted it in a Flashpoint or something. I don't know, but it just seems so too much of Zack Snyder's vision going forward if that would have been the case. So that's why I'm saying I'm kind of conflicted because as it stands as a movie as its own, and if we don't get any more, then okay, that's kind of cool that it did that thing and it ended the way it did. But if we were to continue and if the people who are being vocal about finished what he started gets louder and louder and WB this to do that, I would be happy with going more of that. It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I'll say, I mean, I had heard some of what you just explained, not all of that, and I agree with you. I don't want that. So I'm good. I mean, I guess I don't really have like any, I guess, concerns, and I say concern because I agree with you. I don't want the vocal kind of minority of people to influence WB to like continue like the Snyderverse. I think it ended up working so well in the situation of this movie because indeed Zack Snyder didn't get to finish his film, and like you said earlier, like that's got to be tough. Like even though he had to leave for a terrible situation, and it's obviously he had to leave, but he still got to a point where he wanted to finish the film he never got to finish. So I think that vocal group of people combined with the fact that this filmmaker indeed did want to finish his version, I think is what made this truly happen. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, maybe Zack Snyder would like to continue this as well, but he hasn't shot any of this yet. And he also, I don't know. I also do just get some sense, and I don't know Zack Snyder. I could be totally wrong, but I get a sense that even though maybe there's a part of him that would like to go and finish all this and do a Justice League 2 and 3 and all this other stuff, but I think he's also just mentally like moved on from it. Like,
I think he wants to move on.
Because he said, I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, like he said as much, like that this Justice League film is really just think of it as like an offshoot kind of thing, because it doesn't really tie well into the Aquaman movie that we've gotten and maybe Wonder Woman 1984. But I don't know. I'm not too concerned that we're going to get the films that you've kind of describing, Bobby. I agree with you. I wouldn't really want that because I'm in the same boat with you. I mean, you and I have been in step on the whole Man of Steel 2 thing. Like, I want another Superman film. I liked Henry Cavill's Superman, and I would love to see him as Superman again. But I've lost all hope in that.
Yeah. Well, I think for me the big thing with this whole epilogue is it's a dream sequence. It's a nightmare, but it's a dream sequence, and it doesn't mean it is to be or not to be. It just kind of is an idea. And I think he was just trying to put together, like, there was an idea that I had, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of it, but that's really kind of where we're at, and this is just an idea.
I don't know. I mean, I think in a way, I think he made it like, hey, if I had made this is how it would have been, because it was going to play into these other movies.
Right.
I mean,
and who knows? Maybe that was just going to be Justice League 2, and then Flashpoint was going to come out and then rectify the dark Superman or something. I don't know. And then go into a Justice League 3. I have no idea. There's definitely many ways this all could go. But what I will say is my takeaway from it was that I thought it was interesting that the people that did team up together are the people that teamed up together. You're getting an older Flash. You're getting, what's her name? Mira, Deathstroke, and then, of course, the Joker, and Cyborg, too. And it's funny because I didn't realize it when we watched the movie, but then later Jared Leto put a picture on Instagram, and it was the full shot of him as Joker in that scene sitting on the hood of a car. And what I didn't realize watching it, but then I did once I saw the photo, is that it's Joker sitting in his costume is straight out of Arkham. He's still wearing the white pants and the white like dress kind of thing, and then he just has his vest on top. And I was like, oh, and I'll be honest, having that photo, I think I even like it even more. Like I already enjoyed it, but I liked it even more. And I liked seeing Joker in much more simplistic Joker look. And I say simplistic versus the Suicide Squad look. I liked this Joker a lot. And I kind of wish I could get more of this Jared Leto, Zack Snyder's Joker that I saw just in that brief little clip. He was dark and yet still Joker humorous in his way. And yeah, he goats Batman because that's what he does. And he throws it out there about Lois, and he throws it out there about Boy Wonder, and he's definitely not messing around. And I like it. I was like, man, I wish I could see more of this. This would be great. Like it was almost heartbreaking to watch it because I'm like, I'm not going to get this. And then, yeah, like seeing that picture that Jared Leto posted where he's actually in the Arkham clothing. And I was like, oh, this makes it even better. Like, oh, God, he really just pulled him out of Arkham and was like, come on, you're coming with us. This is happening. Oh, so good. It was a nice touch that I wish I could see more of. Thing.
I did like that in the way that it played. But at the same time, I couldn't help but to think of all the people you can bring along to help fight Superman, you brought Joker. Like, what's Joker gonna do? I don't know why.
I think Joker.
The choice. Like, why would you bring Joker? I don't know. To me, if anyone, you would bring Lex Luthor. I mean, he would probably be able to have more insight as to how to bring down Superman, whether it's kryptonite or something. In fact, I don't even know why he would want. Again, we don't know the answers to any of this, but I don't even know why he would want Darkseid to kill Superman. Like, as if he's going to help you out now, Lex Luthor, after he kills Superman? Like, he wants to destroy the planet. I don't understand why you would want Superman dead in that sense. But again, yeah, it's just weird. And to kind of go back to what you said, David, in an article, Zack Snyder had said that, Warner Brothers has said that the theatrical version is canon and his version is not. Mm-hmm. And he wishes them luck. And he said that if they were to come back and want him to do more and finish what he started, he would be more than happy. But he just doesn't see that that's in the cards. He just doesn't think that they're going to revisit it in any sort of way.
Right.
And even if they did, it's like, well, what do you do with Ray Fisher at this point?
Right.
Yeah.
And that character, I don't know. So it's all messy.
That's a burn bridge.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I don't know what you would do. And maybe he would rework a lot of what he initially thought he would do in a second and third movie.
Right.
Don't know. We'll never probably know. But yeah, it's like you said, kind of, it's an exercise, and we got to see it sort of play out, and it's a fascinating thing that I imagine people will study and write papers about and do all kinds of stuff on, because it is an interesting situation all the way around.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Is there any last minute things anybody wanted to
I got nothing.
bring up on Justice League now that it's here? We've watched it.
So it's 3 A's, right?
Yeah.
Yay.
I think overall we got 3 A's here.
I think if there's anything else. Can't think of anything off the top of my head. I thought I had one more thing, but I think it left my brain. So
yeah, I can't think of anything else. So, well, this was fun.
Yeah.
It's nice that we finally got to watch this. We've got another Falcon and the Winter Soldier, of course, next weekend. Yeah. I don't know, like, what is there, like, another big? Well, yeah, I guess Godzilla vs. Kong is next weekend, isn't it?
Black Widow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Black Widow's coming out next weekend. What?
No, I thought you were gonna say what other big stuff do we have to come out?
Oh, well, yeah.
To, but yay.
We all know Godzilla is the one we're rooting
definitely
for,
looking forward to Kong vs. Yeah, I don't think he's going to win, but I would say that's who I would have. I'm Team Godzilla, but I don't think he'll be the victor of those two.
It's funny. So we got 3 Team Godzillas over here. I wonder what Yasha would be.
I think Yasha's fuck this. I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
He's team hashtag I'm over it.
I think he's team the humans with the nukes. Like, kill them both, please.
Right, exactly. I would say that's a sure bet right there.
Yeah. All right.
I'll be honest. You know what I kind of like, because this is a future episode we're talking about. It'd be cool if people could maybe comment on this one. Just put a hashtag Team Godzilla or hashtag Team Kong, just out of my sheer curiosity.
All right.
If you're interested.
No,
I'd
I
be
know.
Curious.
I this is another thing I think Bobby and I are in the same boat on. I've never been like a big Kong person. Like, there's been some, King Kong, like the Peter Jackson King Kong movie, for example. I'm like, it's fine, I guess. Like, I've never had a connection to that character. I don't really care. Like,
well, to play devil's advocate, film purists like myself look at King Kong as one of the original films and brings us into the special effects spectrum that is now in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
I'm Team Godzilla, guys. Come on.
I was gonna say you still haven't watched the Kong movie, huh?
No.
Oh,
The
what?
one with
Kong?
Samuel L. Jackson,
Oh, the Kong Skull Island?
the new
No.
one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Which is funny because I've
It
definitely like
changed my
walked by the
opinion
section in the theme
on
park,
Kong.
but
It changed your opinion on Kong.
really?
It's the first version of Kong I've ever liked. I've never liked King Kong before, and watching that movie made me actually like King Kong. So
right.
I honestly am not actively rooting for his defeat. I would put it that way. I would have been in any other version. I would have been like, I hope Godzilla just lights him on fire and kills him quick. But this version of Kong, I'm kind of like, oh,
poor
I
guy.
hope not.
Oh,
But
well, because Kong,
yeah,
is supposed
so-
to. He's got a bit of a soul. Anyways.
yeah, you got to watch that
be-
movie before the new one comes out.
All right.
I could see that. That would make sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we are going to wrap things up. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can reach out to us on Instagram and Twitter at flicker_effect. This is being streamed live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're watching on YouTube, for example, you can comment with your questions or comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we post any videos or go live in the future. And yeah, you can reach out to us on the Twitters or on Facebook. Just
Instagram, too.
Say hello. I said that earlier. I said Instagram. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching.